Hi guys, what it is? Trying to make sure it's recording. Yes, we're recording. Hi, it is your girl Cadillac. I am Cadillac Dixon, the Draw My Life prison wife. I am the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. I'm hoping to see justice before it all fades to black. Yeah, it's your girl Cadillac. Just checking, make sure ain't nothing on my face, girl. You know how I always do. Um, Today I'm coming in. It is Sunday the 14th, and I got up. Y'all, I don't have to rush off to work, so I have time to make this video with you guys. I pulled around the corner so I don't have to be interrupted, and I'm here to just give you the latest knowledge that I have found. I'm working on this will be part 3, and I uploading 3, which is my response first, so that on my timeline it can show them in order the way I would want you to watch it. I know that's probably ridiculous, but that's how that's how I'm uploading right now. So this is actually my response to a, let's see, what was the name of the article? Hold one moment, guys. Let me see. Okay. So I was watching an article, actually a news story as well, that came out 3 days ago. So this is brand new news. Back on April the 17th, I put out a video that said that 4 Florida corrections state facilities could close due to lack of funding. And then it said, is Florida DOC broke? Okay, so I gave my commentary on how I felt about that situation, which if you would like to watch it, it is going to be linked in the description box. They're acting as though there's no answers, and there's clear cut answers on how to reduce the prison population, but they don't want to go for that, such as the 65%. There's many people already that have done 65% of their time, but like other states, unlike other states, Florida wants to be the one that has the longest percent of time that you have to do, 85%, which means you can be sentenced in one state and have to do 65% on the same kind of charge, the same kind of crime. Or in Florida, you could just do more time. Like, I don't understand why that is necessary, but they clearly could go to 65% like other people. Parole, just like other states, Florida has no parole. See, Florida's in this problem because they don't have the things to alleviate the system like other states have. If they brought back parole, they got rid of parole. Why would you get rid of parole? Like, that makes no sense, and I don't know when it ever made sense, but for years there has been no parole in Florida. As you know, other states have parole. You go in, you do your time, you go up before a board, and they see whether you're still, like, you still need to be incarcerated or you can be allowed to be free and live another life, which is not just, hey, open up the doors. Most times they go through being on probation, parole, or also the little ankle monitors. So you may not be completely free, but you're not in the confines of a facility all the time. You're still able to see your family and do whatever you can in your life. Florida decided, hey, we don't need that. Like, what sense, on what world, in what land did that make sense? So these are the reasons we're in this problem, because you have taken away, while we own the ship of what Florida don't have, we also don't have conjugal visits, which may seem like nothing. Or besides conjugal visits, we have nothing for the families. So when these incarcerated citizens are taken from their family, there's nothing to keep the family together. I am the Draw My Life prison wife. I have stood by my husband's side for 20 years. And due to that, we had, thankfully, one child before his incarceration. But due to his long extended incarceration, our family has not been able to have any more kids. Like that, we have no family programs. So, and also, Okay, you say that doesn't matter, girl, whatever. That's too bad for you. He shouldn't have did what he did. You know, that's what y'all always say. But also the kids that already are alive and their fathers go to prison, there is no way for them to really stay in communication with their fathers, to have relationship with their fathers. I will do a video separately of how our daughter from 9 months old, when her father was wrongfully convicted, to now 20, have maintained a relationship. I can do a separate video about that, but it's not easy. It's not easy, and it affects those children. So after I done completely plugged in all the stuff that Florida lacks, you can see why Florida is in such a detriment. And they were saying that Florida is one of the third largest prison systems in America. Like, that's crazy. The state that I am, I know we're one of the most unfairest. Oh, but I didn't know we were one of the largest. That's crazy. Crazy. And I think they were trying to fight to get to number one, which is crazy. Okay, so since we're doing this backwards, I'm going to review that article in the next video. But in this video here, I'm going to give my response to the closing statement that was asked by the reporter. Okay, so let me read that, and then I'm going to give you my 7. Oh, got to get back to the page. Good. Let's get back to the page. Okay, my response to the ending statement. Oh, first I needed to let you know what was the name. Did I let you know that already? Okay, it was called, the name of it was called Florida Prisoners Inches Away, like in little quotes. Florida prisoners inches away from emergency release. Dangerous staffing shortages threaten safety. Okay. And which is kind of ironic for me, that little quote, it says inches away. Well, you do know the Secretary of Department of Corrections name is Mark Inch. So I don't know if that was a pun meant or what. Like, what was that meaning? So I just kind of side noted that. Which he did go in the last session and basically tell that legislation that, hey, we need to do something, because I'm ultimately gonna have to release somebody if it keeps continuing in this way. I'm gonna have to, it's gonna be an emergency release. Like, they're kind of out of funds. So he was asking for more funds and stuff like that, to, you know, pay the corrections officers more, because there's a corrections shortage, which is, in turn, there's no classes, which they didn't. Florida, don't let them fool you. They ain't started out with that many darn classes. They had some, but they also didn't offer a lot of these classes to people that they gave these dinosaur sentences to. So don't let them make you think they had this whole big old educational system going on inside of the prisons, which they didn't. But they had some classes, but now those, you know, are getting bare because the money has to come from somewhere. Okay, so the last statement, though, is what caught me. It was the person that was doing the interview, like a reporter, and he says, oh, these are criminals. Now he's making a remark of how most of society feels about this situation. Oh, these are criminals. Oh, they probably deserve to be there. I don't care about these people. And why should they care? Okay. He was asking them, why should they care? Because these are clearly like the lowlives of society, that we don't care what happens to them because, quote unquote, they shouldn't have did what they did. So these are my 7 responses. Number 1 is actually not mine. Number 1 was the response that Jeff Brandes gave. Yep, Jeff Brandes gave to him. And I'm going to recite that one, and then 2 through 7 are actually mine. Okay, so number 1, why you should care about the prisons in Florida closing, and incarcerated citizens, not inmates, are going to be released. Okay, the vast majority of people in prison are going to get out. Dun, dun, dun. These people are gonna come live in your neighborhood, our neighborhoods, not just yours. Okay, they are gonna be in your communities. Girl, they ain't just your communities, there are communities as well. And they are either gonna get out prepared to re-enter society, or they are going to get out as a better criminal, because what they learned while they were incarcerated, basically saying all they learned was how to be a better criminal. Now, I think my little thought on that, it is all true. And Brandis is actually one of the people that have been fighting for criminal justice reform. Though it's a very tedious uphill battle, there are people fighting for it, and it does feel like it's never going to happen. I'm going to be truthful with you. It feels like it's never going to happen, but it looks as though they're going to be forced into something happening. Like it was referred on one Zoom that it's like a plane basically crashing and burning, and instead of trying to do what they can do to salvage, it's gonna have to be that plane's gonna have to crash and burn before something's done, which is sad. But there were things that they could have done previous to prevent this, and clearly they didn't want to do that. So you wait until you're in detrimental danger to actually make a move. This has been ignored for so long. There's no way that we got to this point overnight, and there's reasons we're at this point. That's the part you really need to take away from here. Okay, so number 2, this one is mine. So 2 through 7 are my thoughts. Okay, some of the standards in the prisons in Florida DOC are inhumane. During this pandemic, like, girl, that's the worst place you need to be. The place is not clean at all. It's nowhere near the sanitary levels where it should be. That's why when there was a breakout, things went bad, because it's not a sanitary place to start with. I have watched I have many accounts from my loved one who has been incarcerated for 20 years wrongfully of his life. And yeah, it's not that clean at all. Even going to visitations, you see where back in the day, like even before this, they used to try to save on soap, and it would be so much water put into the soap. When you go wash your hands, oh my gosh, the facilities were dirty. Like the tables were dirty. You had animal crap on the little picnic tables where we would visit and stuff like that. And we would have to try to get little thin paper towels that would tear when you wet them with like regular water. We don't have any cleaning stuff for the tables or whatever. And these are where we're going to eat. We're going to eat our family meals during visitation. You're going to the restroom, and the soap is so watered down that you're washing your hands with water to underwater. Like, how are we going to get a clean situation there? And then we're eating. Well, if they're doing that during visitation, what would you think that they're doing for them? Are they providing them with soap? Why are you trying to thin out soap that much? Like, why are you trying to thin out cleaners that much? Like, all the things that they were trying to do to save money. You can't always save money you could save money at some times, but when saving money causes detriment, it's better to just do what you need to do. The facilities are not clean. The shower situations, like, that is disgusting. I have heard many times from many prison YouTubers, like, girl, that's why they give them no shower shoes. Who in society would think of showering with shoes on? flip-flops on. Why are they doing that? Because the shower floor is so disgusting that you don't want to place your bare feet on the surface of the shower. Like, don't let the movies fool you where they get in that shower with their bare feet. Florida don't do that. And I've even heard of other prison YouTubers when they got out, like how long it took for them to start showering without like basically like flip-flops on, because now they're conditioned to, hey, when I shower, I need to have something on my feet. These also, we're going to go to unair conditioned. 85%, which they mentioned in that article, 85% of Florida's corrections facilities are unair conditioned. Now, I don't know if that's in most of the other states or whatever. Some states may not need air conditioning, but Florida, let me tell you, Florida is hot. Y'all know how I always harp on that, how hot it is. I have to use my rapper voice right there. Florida is hot. Girl, I have lived in Florida for most of my life. And during certain times of day, like right now, it is cool, but it's still hot in this freaking car. Like, I don't care how hot it is, because we always have that heat index. And then we have, even if there's a cool breeze, like it's always humidity. Like it's super hot. So if you're in a, like now, it's clearly cool outside. It's a decent day. But I'm hot inside the car because I had the windows up and I was actually, it's keeping in all that humidity. So now I feel the cool breeze. Well, guess what? Inside those prisons, there is no flowing air circulating. The windows, they don't get air through the windows. As many times my husband has told me how, now basically the window is like a tin sheet with little tiny holes, little dots. Tiny dots. So it's basically, you're not going to get too much of airflow through there. There's no air conditioning. So when you have a cedar block building, I am the daughter of a construction worker. Cedar block building is going to hold in and insulate all that heat. So it's going to be hotter inside than outside. When it's cold, it's going to be colder inside than outside. So in these facilities during these sweltering summer months, it's hotter. When we're reaching our high 90s, 98, 99, sometimes 100, how much hotter is it in there for our loved ones? Okay, so that goes back to the story. They were basically saying that, hey, these are incarcerated people. They probably deserve it. But it also went back to tell you that they can't keep staff because of the same reason. A lot of the staff would rather work somewhere else where they're not being profusely hot. Like I remember working in and it's nowhere close to that. So I'm just comparing on the level that I can compare. But of course, my situation nowhere was near as worse. But I used to work in this restaurant. That girl, it was so freaking hot. And they refused to fix the air conditioner. It was all closed off. It wasn't no open windows. And it would just be hot. Like, girl, the guests would be like, can you sit us in a cooler place? And I would like, oh, girl, where in my mind, like, where's this cooler place at? Like, I'm uncomfortable. I can't even hardly bust these tables. I can't hardly sweep this floor because I'm so hot. Like, I'm constantly going back. That's where I formed my little habit for eating ice, like, because it was so hot. That was the only way to cool down. And FYI, our loved ones don't get ice and stuff. Like, they have to find creative ways of cooling off, such as what I heard from another formerly incarcerated woman that did time at Lowell, Florida DOC, is that they would take turns allowing the incarcerated citizens to get in the showers with their clothes on to cool off. Or they get rags and lay them on their bodies to cool off. Like, that is so unnecessary. That is something that could be fixed, that could be addressed. Our organization that we work with, Florida Cares, that I'm a part of, we actually advocated for the need for air conditioning in Florida DOCs. And we did the hot box challenge. I can link that in the description. I don't think I got ready. I did my get ready with me for the hot box challenge, but I don't think I ever released that footage of us doing the hot box challenge where they were challenging these legislators to go into a simulated Florida DOC sale. It had the bunk, it had everything, it had the whole setup. And can you stay in here for 3 minutes? Like, a lot of them were coming out like changed, like they couldn't understand. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. If you can't spend 3 minutes, how do you expect human lives to spend lifetimes in that sweltering heat? And how, okay, because you're not concerned with that, how do you expect staff to work in that heat for however many hours they have to work? Like, for real, like, bring it back to what they really care about. They don't care about our loved ones in there, but they're going to care about their staff being, well, they may not care about their staff, but now that you're losing your staff, that's when you care. Like, hey, these are some of the issues that could have been addressed previously that would not have led us to this point, but it's been too ignored over all this time. So the inhumane standards, actually, they're dealing with abuse in there. It's a lot of things going on. It could be incarcerated citizen on incarcerated citizen. Sometimes it's the staff on the incarcerated citizens, and as they show, sometimes it's the incarcerated citizens on the staff. But when you make these environments the way you make them, baby, if you make it like a jungle, people are going to start acting as though they live in the jungle. Like, for real. Okay, number 3. The corrections is the resulting problem. And it stems further back to the justice system, or AKA, shall I call it, the injustice system. So you're trying to correct the corrections, right? Okay, so just for this video, sake of this video, we're focusing in more on the overcrowding of it. Okay, so to address that problem, you have to go back, because that's just the result. The problem stemmed from somewhere. And a lot of that problem started from the justice system. Yes, it started in the courts, when the courts were denying people their civil liberties, when the courts were manipulating cases, when the courts were taking out evidence that could free people, and when the courts were stacking up charges, stacking time instead of giving flat time, when the judges and the courts were adding all these enhancements to give longer sentences, when the DAs were up there willing and dealing to just get the conviction. All of those things led to more people that should not have been in prison, or who should not have spent as much time in prison, to spend lifetimes in prison. For what Marcello is accused of in any other state, Marcello probably would have got 10 years. But here in the state of Florida, he has 40, which the judge said he was being lenient on him because he wants to give him life. You know how many life sentences are here in the state of Florida? They have a large number of life sentences, and a life sentence means you're keeping that person for their whole entire life. You're keeping them from childhood. You're keeping in the juvenile system. You're keeping them through adolescence. You're keeping them through young adulthood. Then they're middle-aged people. Then you're keeping them even through retirement age. There are people that have went in when they were kids and they're like past retirement age and they still have no hope of getting out. You cannot lock everybody up forever. That's the whole point. And that is the point that our system here has forgotten. You cannot You cannot lock everybody up forever. And they got so used to that, handing out bukus of time, doing it. Who cares about the evidence? Setting up juries and stuff like that to give you the outcome you want. Like, all of that led to more convictions. All of that led to Marcello's wrongful conviction. And when we get on that point, well, that's coming up soon. But you have to fix the justice system, because when in my first video, I likened Florida DOC crowding to being a hoarder, a hoarding situation where is something wrong psychologically, something is off that is causing you to want to hold on to so many people, to so much stuff, like a hoarder. And for the hoarder, most times they don't want you to just come through and just bulldoze and take all their stuff. They want to sort through it. They want to go through it. This is the time that DOC and the system could be sorting through their mess. They could be actually granting some of these motions. They could be actually looking into some of these cases. There are so many people wrongfully convicted. There are so many people overly sentenced. You could be reducing times. You have handed out more times than you should have. You have handed out unequal times. For certain races, you have given this much time, and certain other races, you have given this much time. You can even it up. You can let people out. You can't hold on to everything, because when you're holding on to everything, you cannot get anything new. That means if there are people that are committing crimes, you have nowhere to incarcerate them, because you have them filled up with people that either serve their time or that shouldn't even be there. So you have to clean through your mess, and they don't want to clean through their mess. You have the other options of the 65% that we keep presenting as bills, and you push them out the way like it doesn't matter. You have the second look bill. You can look through a conviction, and if the conviction no longer fits law, because so many laws have changed, but you haven't updated nobody's sentences. Like, what's the point in changing the law if you're not going to update the sentences of the people that are already affected under these unjust laws? Like, if you're not going to address that, then how can you cry about you have to now let someone go? So now you had the chance to go through your mess, but now, baby, the bulldozer on its way. Bulldozer on its way. Wrecking crew on its way. So now what you gonna do? You still got time. Okay. Number 4, the wrongfully convicted and overly sentenced people in prison that deserve to come home. I know I kind of touched on that. I'm so sorry. I got ahead of myself, but I get so passionate there, because not only because my husband doesn't deserve to be there and didn't deserve to do 1 day in prison, but because of the unjust system that we live in, because he was a black man. I'm going to throw that in. I mean, he got the book thrown at him. He was looked at as though he was nothing to nobody. He was a piece of scum, and he can be done any type of way that they wanted to do him. I'm not saying that other people of other nationalities do not get sentenced harshly, but they mainly target in on the black man, the young black man. So there are a lot of wrongfully... Hold on, guys. Yes, but you can address it by letting the people that don't deserve to be in prison, let them go. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys, another interruption. We are on our way to SeaWorld because today is my day off, and I'm going to spend time with my nephew. So his mother was just calling me. But yes, so you can start eliminating the people that shouldn't have been there in the first place, addressing those issues. You can start there, but it's going to be, you're going to have to go further. You're going to have to look into the people that received life sentences for things that they shouldn't have. You're going to have to look into these laws. Some of these laws, you're going to have to change some of these laws so that people can be, you know, the system is not meant for you to stay there forever. And that's the part that Florida has gotten wrong. The system is meant to correct. You did something wrong, we correct you, and then we let you go. Yes, you go through the system. It was never meant for you to just stay there, just stay a part of the system. Like, you did something wrong, so now I own you forever. No, it wasn't meant to be that way. And because that's the mentality that they took, this is why we're where we're at now. Process some of them people out. Like, my husband has fought so long against his wrongful conviction. He brings up motions that, number one, they had no evidence against him. How in the world do you even convict a person without evidence? How do you charge a person with a weapon and you have no weapon? How do you charge them? You don't have DNA, you don't have fingerprints, you don't have anything, no eyewitnesses. Like, how do you allow a conviction to go through that you see is built on nothing? Even the so-called victims in your case did not want to come to court and did not show up to court for this alleged robbery. They didn't show up. The person who allegedly got robbed didn't even want to be involved in it, so much to the point that one of them moved off to one completely different state. The other moved off to one completely different state, did not show up to court, ignored 3 subpoenas sent out to them, to the point where court came and they were supposed to let my husband go because nobody was pressing no charges against them. Instead, the judge agreed to continue the case. And then Marcello's own, my husband Marcello, his own public defender, the one that's supposed to defend him, actually worked against him and went out of town to subpoena, not once but twice, asked the court for money for travel and lodging to go to this state to subpoena in person the alleged victim, then to travel to another state to subpoena in person the second alleged victim. Basically made them come to court, forced them to come to court, because under their own free will, they did not show up. They showed you many times when they ignored subpoena number 1, 2, 3, 4. And finally, when you went in person to their door and subpoenaed them to court, did they come. But baby, it goes further. Once they came, they had 2 different stories. They got on court, on the stand, and lied, and were caught in lies. And none of the things that you accused him of ever stood the water test. It was holes poked in every issue, so many holes that it couldn't even stand, and you still allowed him to be convicted. Now this is getting ridiculous.